Hello, this is Patrick at One CNC West, and what we're going to do in this quick video is just take a quick overview of the One CNC user interface for the lathe software. So first of all, this is the main graphics area. This is the main work area. There's two axes here. This is going to be your Z-axis and X-axis, and then right here at the very center, that's going to be your X0, Z0. That's your datum point right there. On the left hand side of the screen, this is the main toolbar. This is where you'll have all your commands for working with and creating geometry, as well as your toolpath commands. Now each one of these options has a submenu, so if I were to go into the lathe toolpaths, you'll see these are the different options for 2-axis lathe machining. If your software includes a live tooling option, then you'll also have this option down here, or possibly another one as well. This is for C-axis, so this would be your live tooling for doing things like milling and profiling and pocketing and things like that. Okay, so again, this is the main toolbar. Here's how it works. When you select an option, you just left-hand mouse click, and then you'll get your submenu. And then to activate a command, you just left click there. Now, notice there's a little home button up here. Well, when you click the home button, this takes you back to the very beginning, the main toolbar. This gives you the nice little icon here to the left, and then a nice little description over here on the right. Now, when you start learning One CNC, you'll start to memorize what these icons are, and then you can simply just click on an icon to quickly go to any one of these different submenus. Okay, and then remember, you can always hit home. Upper left hand corner, these are just your standard Windows commands for new, open, save, undo, and redo. There's also commands up here for manipulating the main drawing area down here. Having said that, you can control most of this with your mouse. For example, if I roll the wheel on the mouse, I can zoom in and zoom out. If I hold the wheel down and move the mouse, I can rotate. And if I hold the control key down on the keyboard, press the wheel down on the mouse, and then move the mouse, I can pan. So most of these options you can accomplish with your mouse. This is your selection toolbar. These are just different ways you can select geometry within One CNC. And of course there's things like chain select, select by window. You can single entity select, you can deselect, you can select by color, select by layers. Lots of different options, but just remember these are all your tools for selecting geometry. These are your transform tools for doing things like moving, move copy, mirror, rotate, and so on. Then you have a quick access toolbar, and the idea behind this is that you're going to want to populate this with your most commonly used commands. So think of it as a custom toolbar. Very simple to set up. Let's say that you make a lot of lines. So if we go here to our line tool, if I right click on this, notice how that icon gets quickly added over there. If we come over here to chamfer, if I right click on that, that command gets added. Let's add, for example, a fillet command. So I'm going to right click on that, and maybe a circle command. Why don't we go into trimming and we'll add scissors, and how about trim 2, and how about we add a couple of machining operations. How about roughing and finishing? So there's lots of different commands you can add to the quick access toolbar. In fact, you can even add construction plane tools if you want to, just by right clicking. You can add verification tools, again just by right clicking. Now once this quick access toolbar is set up, it'll always be there. You can remove options just by right hand mouse clicking on there. So very simple to set up, and once it's set up, it provides a very fast way to move through One CNC. Right hand side of the screen, this is your NC manager. So every time you apply toolpath, all your machining operations are going to be stored over here. So if I were to load up a file that has some toolpath here, you'll see these are all the different machining operations. So this is where you can edit commands, you can reorder commands, this is where you can create CNC code, preview toolpath, simulate toolpath, and so on. So this is where all the machining operations are stored and manipulated. Lower right hand corner, this serves as 4 different purposes. You have a layer browser where you can work with layers if you want to. A verification browser. This is for verifying geometry. So you can select one of these options, and then if you were to click on a particular item, it will give you the information for that. There's a history browser. This keeps track of all your commands when you're creating geometry. So this is a very nice tool. And then there's the recent browser, and this just shows you the most recent part files that you've been working with. You can load the part files just by clicking on one of these icons. So if I left click there, you'll see it's going to load that part there. So you don't have to use this, but this is very nice in that you have a nice little thumbnail of the part, and you can quickly load a part. One thing to point out also is that One CNC is a multiple document application. You can have multiple files within the software at the same time. So if I were to go to Window, you can see I can select this option here, and we'll bring that up. So you can work on multiple files at the same time. You can even cut, copy, and paste geometry from one file to another if you'd like. Down here, this is the coordinate system. This is using the world coordinate system. If you were using construction planes, you could left-hand mouse click and it would use the current construction plane coordinate system. But I'm just left-hand mouse clicking. By default, that's going to say world. That looks good. If we go to our layer browser, this here just shows you the current layer that's being activated, or the current active layer. You can see that's model. There's a couple tools down here. This is the modify tool, and what this does is this allows you to modify geometry. So once you select your geometry, you can go to modify, and then you can do anything that you'd like. For example, you could place it on a different layer. You can give it a different color if you want to. It's all very simple to set up. So that's the modify command. Styles is just setting up your line styles, whether you want solid lines, dash, dotted lines, and how thick you want your different lines to be. Two different colors palettes here. This left-hand color palette is for your wireframe geometry. So right now, any wireframe geometry that I create, for example, points, lines, and arcs, those are all going to be created blue. If I were going to import a solid model or create a solid model or create surfaces, if I had Lathe Professional or Lathe Expert, then this palette controls the color of solids and surfaces. And then finally, in the lower left-hand corner, a couple different options here. Here's the view option, and this is where you can select a view, and one CNC will dynamically change the view to whatever one you select. You can also hit the space bar, which I really like doing. And when you hit the space bar, that same menu appears where your cursor is, and then you can select a view and just left click. So remember, space bar, you'll get that pop-up view anywhere your cursor is located. This is your construction plane tools. This really only gets used when you have live tooling and you're working with C-axis or CY axis or CYB axis. But these are all your different construction plane tools. Then you've got your display. This is for working with solids and surfaces. You can change your display from normal to transparent, wireframe, and so on. And then there's a cross-section tool. So if you do have a solid model, you can use the cross-section tool, and this will dynamically cross-section that. And if you want to, you can add geometry at whatever cross-section level you want by clicking Add to Screen. So you can see now I quickly created that geometry there. I'm going to undo that with a Control-Z. And lower extreme left is the location of the cursor. Okay, so that's it for this video. This was just a quick overview of the OneCNC user interface for the Lathe software. Thanks so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.